Yeah, it kind of gives a hey, I'm actually doing things.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
I'm here doing some stuff. It kind of gives a hey, I'm actually doing. Okay. All right.
All right, I think we're on. I think we're expecting people to come in very shortly if they're not coming on already. So we're live on YouTube,
Yes, we
and
are.
we'll begin in a couple of minutes.
And we're
So,
on Facebook. And
all right,
I'll share it on, let me just share it on WhatsApp.
share it on WhatsApp, and we're ready to go.
We are ready to go. This is what we call multitasking.
Of course, multitasking is all part of the, you know, par for the course, I would say.
It is. All right.
And when we get on there, we're going to be no, we're about 2 minutes early. So I guess people will be starting to gather. We'll get the notification that we're on if they haven't noticed already. So hopefully they're coming in the room. We'll get started in about a minute.
Okay.
Notification that we're on if they haven't. Getting started in about a minute. So far, I think I'm the only one on the YouTube so far. I think.
Pastor Virginia's in the waiting room. Would you like me to let her in?
Sure, let her in. Absolutely. Hey. She's going to be in the waiting room.
Oh, because I'm not on this, right?
You don't want to be on it? You want to listen, right?
Yeah, I just want to listen.
Okay. You can say goodbye then. You can say goodbye.
It's 7:00.
Yes, it is. And we have folks coming in. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday night with Bishop Larry Ward. We call it BLAW Live. Bishop Larry Ward Live. So I just want to thank you so much for being here tonight. And we've been actually talking about our experiences even after our time of 21 days of consecration and fasting. And we just finished up on Sunday, but the stories of what God is doing still continues, and God's not finished with us, even though we are finished with our 21-day consecration. And so tonight, featuring tonight's speaker, our featured speaker tonight is our own Tonya McGrath of Hull Bay Productions, and she's also our executive producer and media producer for the Abundant Life Church Online. And so Tonya's been doing some great work. She and her husband with Hull Bay Productions. They also have a syndicate radio program, Power Play. So if you haven't heard any of the interviews on Power Play, it's on iHeartRadio, and you can pull it up right off of your iTunes, or you can find it right there, and she'll tell you more about that. So we have an awesome story that she wants to share with you, and so without further ado, we welcome Tonya McGrath. Hi, Tonya.
Hello again. I feel like I'm one of those returning guests.
Of course. I mean, you have a story to tell, so
Yeah.
we want to always be on the I guess what I call offering these stories and just subject matter to inspire and encourage people. So thank you for coming.
You are very welcome anytime. And I also encourage you, because I know that there's stories out there that people want to share. So you know how to get in touch with me, and we want to hear your story as well. So I'm going to take off my producer's hat now and, and begin.
Cool. So we have now come through 21 days of prayer and fasting, which ended on the 31st of January, which was Sunday. So you shared with me some amazing things that have been happening. So let's kind of talk about during the fast. During the fast.
Yeah,
What
sure.
we experienced these 21 days during the fast. What was happening?
Well, you know, it was interesting when I started the fast and the consecration. I was having some challenges, and I talked to you about it because everyone knows you're my boss, but you're also my pastor. And some of these challenges were related to just forgetting things, just like little minor like memory lapses, and they were kind of happening a little bit more. And for anyone who knows me, I'm I, I manage things pretty well, and so to have these like little lapses were very disconcerting for me. And it was also the same time when you came to me and you talked about maybe we should kind of like rethink what your priorities need to be. And my first reaction was like, "Gah, what's happening? Like, why are all these things coming at once?" And, you know, for me, it was let me try and fix it and do things and do things. And not being obedient with resting, not being obedient with my Sabbath, not being obedient with taking the time to just relax at time.
Mm.
So I struggled with it for like the first half of the fast. And, you know, it's like wanting to be in control of things that I can't control. Um, and that was a very hard thing for me, and has kind of, it's one of my character flaws, if I have to be truly honest, is, you know, wanting to control things my way. And so towards the last week, I really started to feel this kind of almost like this knocking on my shoulder, and just stop. And when I was able to stop, and again, this was just in the last week of the consecration, I stopped, I listened, I prayed more, I rested, I really asked God to just open me up and please help me understand this shift in my life that's happening right now. And God is very literal with me. And I just have to share that because, you know, my relationship and the way I hear God is incredibly literal. And I don't know if that's because I have such a technical brain or a creative brain, but it's very literal. There's no like, okay, well, if you look this way, this may happen. It's like, this is what's happening. And, you know, and people know my story. I was fired so that I could be here at Abundant Life Church. So when the pandemic hit, we would be able to do all this great work, right? So it's that kind of thing. So as I stopped and I listened and I prayed, and praying was a big, huge part of it. And not necessarily I was praying for things. I was really just asking God to speak to me and open me up. And that was one of the things I kept asking for, just please open me up. So much so that within the last, it's been less than 5 days, 5 major opportunities have dropped in my lap.
Wow.
And these are opportunities that, and we can get into more detail of it, but these are opportunities that really kind of tap my creative side. These are opportunities where I can help people. These are opportunities to tell stories. And all in the last 5 days, it started Thursday of last week up until today that I was talking
Wow.
to you about. So, you know, when I said God opened me up, he allowed me to ease my anxiety about these little memory things that were happening. relaxing, not trying to control what I can't, but really just being disciplined with, if I come up to something and say, okay, well, I don't remember that, don't stay in that space. Just say a quick prayer and let's move on to the next thing. And I have to tell you, from last week this time till now, there is no anxiety. There is a relaxation. I am resting. I'm going to bed early. I'm sleeping a little later. I'm taking naps when I can. I'm really using the weekends to just be still and not moving in a whole bunch of directions. And that's really what I think that God needed me to do.
Wow. Do you really think, and I know that as you were talking about just in the quiet moments, in the stillness of the moments that God was bringing you um, through this fast. Um, do you, I know that you were a participant in what we've been doing called emotional healthy spirituality.
Mhm.
And for those of you that don't know what it is, emotional healthy spirituality is a course, 8 session course by Pete Scazzaro that we do at our church. And it helps people center in on God and helps people understand that to be emotionally healthy is a real important thing when it comes to spiritual growth. And most often we don't think about our emotions. We don't think about, how we feel about things impacts our spiritual growth. So can you talk about maybe it was there something that maybe registered even though you took emotional healthy spirituality, you know, probably a year ago? Was there anything that may have triggered you to come into a place of silence or?
Yeah, I mean, I really think it had to do with my career has been all about the details. When I used to mentor students and mentor other people, everything is about the details. In order to be a good producer, you have to know how this thing connects to this thing, connects to this thing, et cetera, et cetera. And as a director and editor, of course, those are a whole bunch of other technical details. Um, and I used to pride myself on being able to manage all of that and doing everything by myself. And I really think what it really came down to is my unhealthy relationship with control. And I think it can go back to some issues in my childhood and issues in my life. And I remember sharing this with the church a few years ago when we were talking about the Me Too movement, and I was raped when I was 18 years old. And so when I think about control, it's really just almost, well, if I do it all, then nothing will get messed up. If I do it all, then nothing can hurt me or nothing can go wrong. And and that's just not a healthy way to look at it. Um, you know, and then there's just other kind of things that have happened. You know, being in a marriage when I was very young, and all these voices in our marriage, and parents and older people and friends and everything, and the marriage just really became out of control. And so it was really, really always just this idea that, well, if I can take the reins here, then nothing will go wrong. Well, I'm not God, right? And I had to learn that the
Yeah.
hard way, that I can't, that's not for me to control and that's not for me to do. So, yeah, so emotionally healthy spirituality did help me when I was going through the course, really kind of look at that stuff and look at why I was making certain decisions in my life and how I was dealing with certain things in my life. I also, because I'm an open book, I've also shared, that I drank for 30 years. And so it was controlling that, making sure nobody knew about it or understood it, and it was just all very unhealthy behavior for me. So to ask God to open me up and to almost kind of just take over was one a very huge step for me. And I'm 52 years old and I'm just now doing it, but I get it now. But also to just really know that God is, and to be still and know that God is really kind of keeping me from having that anxiety, that pressure, um, you
Mm.
know, going to bed, waking up at 3 in the morning. Did I do this? Did I send this email? It's the world's going to keep going. One
Wow.
email is not going to stop everything. I just have to, and I'm not cured. This is going to be an ongoing thing in my life that I'm going to have to practice and know and really be able to be good at trusting what God has in store for me.
Wow. That's incredible breakthroughs. Um, because we all have something that we need to allow God to take control of. And whether it's on the other side of fears that we have and anxieties that we have. And so before we even get to your the five open doors, as they say, um, we want to talk about this question that was asked. And the question is, what advice would you give other people who consider themselves maybe control freaks or type A personalities that are really trying to, hey, I got to make sure that it happens. And if it doesn't happen with me, it just won't happen. There's just a lot of that in their, that's their personality. So what would you
Mhm.
say to them?
Yeah, because there's so many of us out there. And sometimes I think we don't even realize we're those kind of people until something happens, like it breaks. And I think that that's really what happened with me, is that I broke and I had no choice but to trust God. Um, I think that if you are a believer, you have to know that your control is only going to go so far. That your trust in God has to be at the forefront of everything. That, I know that there's a parable that I have shared with my kids. If I get in my car and my car doesn't start, well, maybe because God didn't want me on the road at that time. It's really just kind of understanding and not overthinking what you can't control. And it's a hard lesson. Like I said, I'm about a week and a half into this. So talk to me in about a month and see how I'm doing. But what I can tell you is that I feel lighter. And if you really love God, and if you really trust God, and if you really say you have faith, then you have to let God be God. You are not, and you will never be. But what you can be is obedient. And I say that in such a profound way, because I I couldn't say that, okay, I'm a good Christian, I have faith, I love God. However, I still want to do things my way. That's not what's going to work. And what you're going to do is create more stress and more anxiety, more frustration. Frustration is a huge part of these control issues, and relationships. Because when you're trying to control everything, then that means that the people who are in your circle who are trying to help you, you're trying to control them as well. People don't like that. People don't want that kind of control.
Yeah.
And listen to the people who love you. My husband is always, hey, did you take some rest today? Did you get away from your office for a few minutes or an hour or so? And even on the weekends, just helping me do things that aren't related to work and that type of thing. Um,
Wow.
it's a lot to give up, but it's so much easier to know that God is in control and I don't have to do it.
That's great. That's great. Well, for those of you who are watching, I just want to invite you to just let us know that you're enjoying it. Put thumbs up or some hearts. You can let us know how you're enjoying it, or if you have a question, you can put that in the chat box, and Tony will be glad to answer it, or we'll be glad to just kind of what I call just find a way to answer your question. And so please use the chat box. Let us know that you're there. So let's talk about the open doors and talk about the wonderful things that happened even at this last week of the fast and beyond.
Yeah. So it started out with getting a call from an old producer, supervisor of mine in my past life in television, and just reaching out to me and saying, I have this idea and I want to talk to you about it. And the idea is producing a series on race in 2021, which is very timely because we've just come off of 4 tumultuous years, and I think that the healing hasn't even begun yet. Just having a new administration doesn't mean that all those feelings just poof go away. So that was just like, wow, that's incredible. I believe the same day I got a call from an old colleague of mine who wanted to know if I was interested in teaching at Boston University this summer. And I was just kind of blown away by that. And so I'll be speaking to people in the next couple of weeks and kind of seeing what that's about. I have secured an opportunity to help an organization with their virtual annual conference this year, which is huge, and it's going to be incredible. And that part of that process was really owning what I'm good at and not trying to be too many things to too many people, but just do what I know how to do. And they just love that. And now I'm going to have to remember the other two, and you'll have to help me if you remember. Having interest in possibly working with the Cambridge Jazz Foundation. And so it's just incredible. And my podcast is doing fantastic. I'm getting all these great guests. We just interviewed Michael Curry, who is now the president and CEO of Massachusetts League of Community Health Centers. He was incredible. So tune in on Thursday. He's got a lot of wonderful ideas and information about COVID and testing and vaccines in communities, communities of color, communities of lower income. So it's just everything is just feeling really good. But I'm also just very humbled by it all, but knowing that it took me taking a step back and not having to move in all these different directions, and just really understanding that these are the type of things that God is trying to show me. Now, I'm not doing them all. I can't, because that wouldn't be obedient, right? Because God wants me to rest and he wants me to, but I think what it is just saying that if I can take a step back and not try to control what my destiny is, but letting God show me what my future is, then that is better. And it feels much better. It
Yeah.
it's a wonderful feeling. But I'm not going to say, okay, you know what? All right, thanks God. So now let me do all this kind of stuff. No, I'm not doing that. I'm really going to just be obedient and really ask, what do you want me to do? Where do you see me best? And allow that to happen.
Wow, that's incredible. Um, the, the thing about it is that it's just so coincides with where the Lord promised Israel. He said, "Look, if you're willing and you're obedient, you're going to eat the good of the land." But also, he said, that He sets before us death, and He also sets before us doors of death and life.
Mm-hmm.
But in that 28th chapter of Deuteronomy is so interesting that the Lord said if we're obedient to Him, He said, not only is He going to bless uh, our businesses. In their case, He said, "I'll bless your flocks. I'll bless your people. I'll bless. I'll bless. I'll bless." And He says, you know something? The blessing will not only come upon you; they're going to overtake you.
Mm,
So it's like, okay, the blessing is not only going to come, it's going to run you over. It's like you're running over with blessing. It's like the blessing's going to tackle you. That's kind of one of the translations. It's like you're being tackled. So
mhm.
it sounds like you're being attacked with blessing right now,
Yeah.
which is amazing that God does this. Um, I just want to just let folks know I am aware that you cannot use the chat feature. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but you can't use the chat feature in YouTube. So I'm sorry about that, but I know you're out there, and so I hope I'm praying that you're enjoying it regardless, and that this is inspiring you. I just want to put a question out there. How will you discern your next steps, and what are the options as they come to you? How do you know which one of the good ones and not maybe not so good ones?
I don't think I do. I think that that's part of what I need to continue to pray about and continue to allow God to guide me with. This it it's different from applying to a bunch of jobs and hoping that you get one and hoping it's the right one. These are things that have been coming my way, and I think it's more of the message of, if you are obedient, Tonya, this is what I'm opening up to you. This is where I think that you um, are going to see these type of opportunities coming to you. But I honestly believe that. I don't think that God is telling me to do everything. I think that it's important that I listen, that I continue to pray and pray often, and really be honest with myself in what I can, um, and trust God to give me what I know I can handle. I, I can work from 7 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. I don't think God wants me to do that. Um, and I can work
Well,
7 days a week. I don't think God wants me to do that either. But I do know that it's really just kind of saying it's going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. God is telling me I'm going to be okay, but I have to be obedient and I have to remember that He's in control. And I think back to when I first started talking to you about forgetting things and everything, and how much I was trying to do and how much I was trying to move in all these different directions. And so much so you came to me and said, maybe if we take this part off your plate, and I was, as you know, I was upset. I was like, what is happening right now? But that, because I wasn't taking the time to listen to God. So, He was coming through you, He was coming through my husband, He was coming through other things, trying to talk to me. And I was just I wasn't listening and I wasn't being obedient, and causing myself more stress and more angst and being more emotional about what was going on. You know,
yeah,
and I had a doctor's appointment today, which was canceled because of the storm. And it wouldn't, I think 2 weeks ago, that would have bothered me a little bit. And it isn't. It's just trust and knowing. And and that's really how I'm going to approach whatever comes next. But
that's great.
I'm not leaving ALC.
That's it's amazing what God can do when we just let Him do what He does, and we take care of what we're supposed to do. But He certainly asked us that we just make sure that we are obedient to Him. And so, as we're about to end and as we're about to close our time together, I just want to just thank you for really being very transparent and talking about your journey and your experience and how that's been such a blessing to people. And also Greg as well. It's not an easy job that you do, but yet it is a necessary job because many people's stories will not get out to the people that really need to hear it without media services that you provide. And so as you continually do that, we're trusting God that He'll continue to bless you. And thank you for being a blessing to the ministry. I know that for those of you who may be watching for the first time, or you've seen Abundant Life Church online, there was a time when we started out, and it's amazing that the first case of COVID was a year ago today,
Mhm.
in the United States, that was discovered. And I remember we were starting off in March, and we didn't even have any tools to really um, air our broadcasts
Right.
on our platforms. And so since then, all the platforms had to be changed. All the things that we're doing now, camera work. I mean, it was just a fast learning. So I want to thank you for braving the storm as I was throwing things at you, the kitchen sink and everything. We were doing research. We were just trying to make sure that we had provided service and ministry to those who are connected with us and those who are beyond our fellowship. So we couldn't have done that without you and your team. So we thank God that you're there to really support us and really making it happen each and every week. And so I just want to make sure that you know that we do appreciate you. We do appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you too, Bishop.
And it's awesome. And it's awesome. And people are being blessed by it. So we're just going to allow you to go. And thank you so much, Tonya, for being our guest tonight. On next week, we are trusting God. Our guest is going to be Marissa Cooper. She is actually an occupational therapist, and we are going to be talking about her work in caregiving as she deals with, battling COVID and working with people in their homes and trying to get them on their feet and trying to make sure that they're well. So we're going to be talking with her on next week. So join us for BLAW Live at 7 p.m. on next
And
Tuesday.
the chat box will be working next week.
And the chat box will be
working. I'm not sure what happened, but
and the chat box will be working.
Week.
All right. So check out our website. Also, I want to announce to you as well, just want to give you a heads up. We're going to be having a credit, what they call financial series on credit. And so you want to check out the website, you want to get that information, and you want to be a part of that, and you want to register. Jacqueline Cooper is going to do a bang up job for 2 Thursday nights. It's going to be, I believe it's the 18th and the 25th of February. And you want to be a part of that to learn how to deal with your credit. All right. So you have an awesome evening. Thank you so much for being a part of BLAW Live. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.